What is up, guys? This is Godzilla Suplex, and welcome to today's episode, as I am going to be counting down my top 6 villains in the DC universe that should get their own R-rated movie. But before I do that, please hit that subscribe button, also hit the notification bell so you get a notification every time I make a video, guys. Let's get into it. With the Joker movie's release date fast approaching, and with hype and anticipation greatly awaiting this movie, let's ask ourselves a very important question. If this movie is a runaway success like we think it's going to be, supervillains in the DC universe are also going to get this treatment in this era where superheroes have been around since basically Spider-Man, and now the general audience is kind of getting tired and want a fresh perspective on what makes the heroes be better, which are the supervillains. And by having more fleshed out villains with their own movie, we not only really enhance them, but we enhance the universe that we're trying to put them in, which both companies are trying to do at the moment. So now let me count down my top 6 supervillains in the DC universe that deserve their own rated R movie, starting off with one of the best assassins in the DC universe. His character was greatly screwed up in one of the biggest disasters, I think, of a super villain movie, or really tried to be super villain movie, and that was the Suicide Squad movie. And the character in question is Deadshot. Yes, I think his character should be fully rebooted, whether it's in the DC universe or out of it, having a standalone. I think a rated R movie would greatly suit the theme of what Deadshot's around, killing people, not having to cut from it, but actually show the killings and having that, mature nature about him that he did not have in the Suicide Squad. Just the overall gruesome tone of the movie, I think, would fit with the character. Plus, I think the plot would be better and more focused. For example, the story could be, a heist movie with Deadshot in it. I mean, he's always killing and he's the highest gun for hire. Let's just say he botched a huge assassination, leading to everybody finding out his existence, and now he has to really lay low. He can't take any assassination jobs and he's desperate for money. So in that desperation, it takes a really risky job that pays really well, and it'll set him up for the next 10 years, so he'll be able to lie low and keep his daughter safe. That is, a really good plot for a movie, and at the same time moving him away from the Suicide Squad. At my number 4, I choose the Riddler. I think a lot of people are going to be like, well, why? There's a couple of characters that you can use instead, but I think the Riddler has the most potential because his story is so wide open to interpretation. I mean, look at what they're doing with the Joker. They're actually making an origin story about him. So I think if they can stretch the cookie like that with him, and he's the greatest villain of all time, then what can they do with this character to bring him to a big screen rated R movie? Especially because you could set it up much like the Joker, how he became what he was and what inspired him to go beyond and become this sort of super criminal, kind of taunting not only the police but even Batman himself. So when we're talking about putting him in a plot, it could be him while Batman's there, it could be an origin story, and you can draw from a multiple amount of characters to be the antagonist, including the police, including Commissioner Gordon, who is trying to figure out his riddles, and it'll kind of bring this more human aspect to the movie. Or he could just be a straight up serial killer who's laying prints for the cops to try and come get him. Maybe Batman comes in, or maybe some other characters from the DC universe come in and sort of really make this movie sort of really different from any other DC movie that we've seen, or even super villain movie that we've seen. And that's why I put him in number 4, because you can work him in such a variety of ways. But now let me get to my number 4, which is Deathstroke. This dude has been adapted into everything but a movie, and he came in at the end of the Justice League. So just having him have his own standalone movie will be the final breakthrough for the character. I mean, he's been in the video games, he's been in animated series, he's been in animated movies, he's gotten everything but his own movie, and I think he highly deserves it. He's a great character, whether you're doing an origin story or within the DCEU. You can feed off him as a main villain or as a side villain, but more importantly, he would be greatly useful in a rated R movie, much like in the same vein as Deadshot. It's going to be a gruesome movie, but even better with this character, he uses knives and swords and some guns, so any weaponry that is open to him, and you can really make some great scenes. It'll be a really great action movie. The plot can either revolve around him doing a heist, much like Deadshot, him carrying out an impossible assassination, or doing an origin story where, you know, he may complete his first assassination attempt and really show how he becomes Deathstroke and how he journeys to Gotham and starts interacting with all these big time players in Gotham. It would be really a great movie. And plus, on top of that, they could do something for the first time ever, which we have never seen, a villain versus villain movie where the villain is kind of the hero, he's taking on another villain. We've really never seen that before, and Deathstroke is the perfect character to experiment these ideas with. And now at my number 3, it has to be Scarecrow. We saw him in the Dark Knight trilogy, even though he played sort of a minor role in the stories as the series went on. Still, I think there is a great interest in making a psychological or horror movie about this character, how he makes the fear toxin. He can be the antagonist in his own film, maybe having a couple of subjects, you know, go through a whole bunch of hallucinations trying to escape him, sort of like a Pennywise type of movie. Or it can be much like the Joker movie and be a psychological, you know, downfall of a villain and how he really comes up with the toxins, because he was a doctor, so he may be a failing or a depressed doctor, and he may be going through his own psychological troubles, and he's trying to figure out what is fear and his motivation for creating the fear toxin and how it has the effect on the world of Batman. And if they're able to nail this, I think we would get a great psychological horror thriller movie in the process. But now let me get to my number 2, and yes, it's another person from the Dark Knight franchise, and I think a really good telling of Bane will be much appreciated, because Bane in the Dark Knight trilogy was pretty good, but I think having a movie that really focuses on him, how he got out of the prison, and what were the events that made him become Bane in between when he faced Batman and got out of the prison. I mean, there's so many directions that you could take this movie. You could have it literally be a pure origin story, introduce a whole bunch of new characters, have the whole story related to his dad, why he got sentenced to the prison, when he got out, and some of the ramifications that he might have to deal with, like having assassins come after him because, you know, he's not serving his dad's life sentence in the prison. Or you could have it be set after that, and maybe the events that led him to come to Gotham, then you could retell Nightfall, the comics Nightfall, and that would just be amazing, having a new Batman specifically for this story, then having breaking Batman's back and retelling that whole saga, starting off from Bane's perspective and then transitioning to him versus Batman. And of course, at my number 1, it has to be Lex Luthor. With the failing Superman movie and really the collapse of the universe around one of the worst superhero films, Batman v Superman, and how he was just the worst part of the movie, and they casted a young person to play the old and sinister Lex Luthor, just totally wrong. Having it start out with Lex Luthor would be a perfect way to really reboot the DC, or really the bad part of the DC universe that they got wrong, and really introduce this new Lex Luthor, and maybe even a Batman from this perspective. Because just think about it, the plot, okay, Lex Luthor throughout the plot, you know, learns his philosophy, why he thinks the way he does, and we learn that, and then it transitions into a Superman movie, you know, the second movie, where we kind of learn now about Superman. So it kind of gives us, like Bane, an introduction point into this new universe, or reconstructing of the part of the universe, Batman, Superman, that really changes things for the better and really gives us a more deeper appreciation for now having the first proper Lex Luthor ever put on screen. Guys, that's been this episode. Put in the comments section who you want to see get a rated R supervillain movie and why. And if you disagree with this, let's also put in the comment section why you disagree. This has been the best Gojira in gaming. Make sure to hit that subscribe button, also the notification bell, to get a notification every time you make a video, and I will see you guys next time.